Hello and welcome to this post-game edition of Aztecs All In. Aztecs fall to Air Force 49-10 in a game that was not very good for San Diego State. Let's say hello to Steve. What do you think, Steve, about today's game?
Well, I had three keys going into this game, and the Aztecs failed on 2 out of 3, so do the math.
Yeah, coming up on this episode, we'll talk about the loss in depth. We'll also hear from Brady Hoke, both what he had to say at halftime when he was probably more optimistic than what he's going to say. We're going to hear him say after the game. And basically, it was a third quarter that got way out of hand. But before we get to all that, we're going to go back and look at the ball game, starting with the first quarter. Steve, start us off.
Well, Lewis, this game did start off with the promise, and it was pretty much a must-win game for the Aztecs if they were to contend in this new all-in-one giant stack version of the Mountain West Conference. And to make the Mountain West Conference Championship game, you had to beat either Boise or Air Force to kind of give you a bit of an edge, and now they've dropped both of them. But getting back to this particular game, it was a scoreless tie in the first quarter, the Aztecs dodging a major bullet when what looked to be a clear fumble on the CBS Sports broadcast was not reviewed. The Aztecs received the deferred kickoff at the outset. They showed a little life on offense off the bat. Jalen Maiden hit Mark Redmond for 21 yards, but then gave up a sack after putting themselves behind the chains with a holding penalty. Had to punt. Air Force first possession, they showed the speed of Falcons quarterback Zach Larrier. 1st and 10, Air Force 22. He rips off a 41-yard gain to the Aztecs 37. But then the defense holds thanks to 3 straight tackles for a loss by the Aztecs D. Aztecs get the ball back in their own 20. They proceed to reel off 15 plays, including that aforementioned play on 3rd and short where it appeared Jalen Armstead fumbled, but they survived that one. They converted on 4th and short instead, held on to the ball, and Lewis, take it away, because that's where it ends in the first quarter. No score. Aztecs ball on the Air Force 34.
Yeah, second quarter started off great for the Aztecs with a 21-yard touchdown pass to Joshua Nicholson, his first as an Aztec. That capped off a 17-play, 80-yard drive that took 9 minutes and 32 seconds. Amazing. But the defense was not able to keep Air Force off the scoreboard. Chunk plays killing the Aztecs once again. Zach Larrier had a 34-yard run, and then he completed a 28-yard pass on a 4th and 4 scramble drill where it looked like the Aztecs were going to get to him. That set up a 7-yard touchdown throw, game tied at 7. Aztecs then went 3 and out, and that drive started poorly when Keenan Christon decided to run the kickoff out of the end zone to just the 14-yard line. Then Air Force on the short field, starting the drive on its own 47, moved down the field for a 2-yard touchdown run that was set up with a 19-yard pass to Brandon Engel. That made it 14-7. Aztecs went 3 and out again, and Air Force in just 2 minutes moved down the field thanks to a defensive holding by the Aztecs, and then a 27-yard pass to Jared Rosnos, who was wide open on the right side. I mean, wide open. There was not even a defender covering him. That led to a 3-yard touchdown run by Emmanuel Michel, 21-7. But at the end of the half, the Aztecs got a booming 61-yard field goal by Jack Browning to make it 21-10 at the half, Steve.
Yes, and CBS Sports field reporter caught up with Brady Hoke at the end of the half and had some questions, and Brady Hoke gave his best coach speak.
Yeah, we just, obviously, we're not playing great on defense. We did for 2 series, and then we kind of, and I'll give them credit, they schemed it up a little bit, and we got to do a better job tackling again and getting our blocks. But yeah, we've got to obviously keep doing the things that we did well early in the first quarter.
So pick up the action at the outset of the third quarter with the Aztecs trailing by 11 thanks to that record-breaking place kick by Jack Browning. 61 yards, was it? Set a Mountain West record there. Air Force, though, continued the onslaught on offense as the Aztecs offense continued to sputter. With the quarter coming to a close, they had scored touchdowns on 5 straight possessions, and they were gunning for more. So the Aztecs, down by 11, they were on defense. needing to respond, and they did not. First drive, the Air Force triple option did its thing on the ground from the Air Force 25 to the 41, and then 1st and 10, Aztecs D caught playing run. Zach Larrier ordered to pass. It was a short toss to Cade Harris on the left, but it turned into a 54-yard touchdown pass, 28-10 Air Force. Aztecs then go 3 and out at a terrible time. The Air Force starts its next drive on its own 21. Same deal, 5 running plays. Then another Larrier pass to a wide-open receiver deep to Jared Rosnos. This one for 53 yards. Air Force is up 35-10. The route is on. Cherry on top of this one comes first play of Aztecs' next possession, their own 25. Maiden tosses a short pass that's intercepted out of the midair near the line of scrimmage by Trey Taylor. He takes it in for a touchdown. It's 42-10. There's still 7 minutes, 9 seconds left in the third quarter. Another 3 and out by the Aztecs. Air Force controlling the ball at midfield, controlling the line of scrimmage. They're controlling the scoreboard as the quarter ends with Air Force up 42-10.
The fourth quarter, Air Force took out their starters. Zach Larrier, who had a great game, was replaced by Jensen Jones. And Air Force just kept doing what it was doing all night long. Really nice drive for Air Force. Ended with a 4-yard touchdown run on a 16-play, 85-yard drive that took 10 minutes and 20 seconds. That's 49-10 Air Force. The Aztecs got the ball one more time. They started on their own 14, got the ball all the way down to the 30 before turnover on downs, and then Air Force ended it with a bunch of kneel downs. Steve, utterly disappointing game for San Diego State all around, and it's hard to put a cherry on top of this one in any way.
The one thing in their favor is they've got a bye week, so there's some time to rest up, as Hoke said in a post-game interview with 76 Sports. They carried the game live, and we'll play some sound from his comments, KFMB 76. So in this post-game interview, Brady Hoke discusses the positive elements of the game in the first half, with the Aztecs looking like they're going to make a game of it. And then things happened.
We were feeling pretty good, and then we just absolutely played bad football from then on. We gave them a free one when we didn't have a guy covered, but times other 2 big plays really hurt us, and we got to get things squared away.
Steve, coming into this game, the Aztecs were focused on tackling and chunk plays. 2 instances last week where they did not play particularly well. Well, tackling, it was tough to tell during this game because the Air Force offensive players were running right past the Aztec defenders without even a chance to tackle. And chunk plays were just huge. This is a list of the chunk plays from Air Force. 34 yards, 28, 27, 19, 27, 55, and 53 yards. Just impossible to be competitive when you're giving up that many chunk plays, Steve.
In the big picture, there is something missing from this Aztecs defense, and Aaron Taylor on the CBS Sports telecast said something similar toward the end of this, where here is a team that normally plays the run very well, and they were not able to do that in this instance. The Aztecs, they held Air Force below their season average in net rushing, 287. That's because they were getting past silly on these big plays, ended up giving up 189 yards passing, and the net is the same, 476 total yards. And you can't compete for a conference championship if you're routinely giving up that much yardage to the opposition.
Yeah, Air Force quarterback Zach Larrier just had his way with the Aztecs, both on the ground and in the air. He rushed 8 times for 103 yards, and then he was 6 of 7 for 189 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he really took advantage of what the Aztec defense was giving Air Force, and that meant a lot of more passes than the Aztecs would have thought.
Well, you can credit the Air Force coaches for devising that game plan and coming up with those plays. When the Aztecs were keying on the run, it resulted in that first possession with that sequence where they had 3 consecutive plays, tackles for loss, and Air Force was forced to punt. But then the rest of the game progressed, and that leads me to my review of key number 1. And it was going into the game, it was this: do not make opposing running backs look like the second coming of Marshall Faulk. Tackle. Stop the run upon first contact. The burden is on the Aztecs defense to prove it can stop or at least limit the run. And they did, when they needed to, it just wasn't there. And yes, they were also got caught keying so much on trying to stop the run that they were caught with their knickers somewhere down around their ankles.
Yeah, watching Air Force run that triple option, it's like a magic trick. Sometimes the ball is one place, and then all of a sudden it's somewhere else, and you wonder, how did it get there? They really run it so well and strategically that San Diego State defenders just couldn't figure it out.
They're a disciplined bunch. It is a service academy, so they know how to work systems and follow it, and everybody plays a role. And that's what makes this offense so amazing, is year after year, no matter what the personnel, it changes. And this quarterback came in and started running the offense 10 practices before the beginning of the season, and all of a sudden he's looking like the second coming of Y.A. Tittle or whoever else, which leads me to key number 2 for the Aztecs. Key number 2 for the Aztecs: when you have the football, score. The Aztecs must take advantage over every single possession. You never know when you're going to see the football again after Air Force is done burning minutes off the clock. And they produced 10 points on the scoreboard.
Yeah, not good. Jalen Maiden, after a pretty darn good game last week, was hot and cold. Hot early, he was 6 out of his first 8, but then had a really difficult time getting the ball downfield. He finished 13 of 24 for 122 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. And one thing about Jalen, when he rolled left at least 3 times, he had an opportunity to run for first downs and run for yardage, but all 3 times he decided to try to throw a pass, and not successful any of those times. And we were wondering at one point, I was wondering if he was hurt, but then he ran later in the game, Steve, so I'm not sure what was going on with that.
He is trying to play the role of quarterback, which is get the ball downfield, and the quickest way to get it downfield is via the forward pass. And each time he did see receivers, they did not come up with the ball, or they were too well covered. Either way, the development project with Jalen Maiden continues, but that development is all predicated on him having time to throw the football and staying ahead of the chains. And there were moments in that game where the Aztecs either were caught holding and set back 10 yards, or they jumped offside, set back 5, put them behind the chains. And Air Force had a pretty good little defense and harassed him in those occasions.
Yeah, forcing a 3 and out 4 times. The Aztecs had the ball for 9 possessions in this game, and 4 of them were 3 and out. Not a successful way to win a ball game for sure.
I did like early in the game, there were some creative calls out of that bunch formation when the Aztecs were in the middle of that one drive, and they had that 4th or 3rd and short, and all crowd up toward the line of scrimmage. And rather than just letting Maiden try to run for it, they ended up taking it outside, and that led them to an easy first down. So the play calling and the offensive imagination also seems like it's getting there. I mean, the big opening with the pass play in the very beginning of the game for the Aztecs, that was there are signs of encouragement, but it's all adding up to a season where they are in the midst of a 4-game losing streak, and in last place at this point in the conference.
Yeah, and what you mentioned at the top of the show, they do have a bye this week, so time to rest up. But then a tough trip to Hawaii, never easy. But you just got to get back to the drawing board, right? They got a lot of season left, despite playing 6 games before the end of September, which is pretty remarkable in its own. I think San Diego State has just got to go back to the drawing board, figure things out, use this week off, to get things in order and see what it's like against Hawaii the following week.
They will have another bye week later on in this season. This bye week is coming at a good time. Brady Hoke told the interviewer on the radio that they will take the opportunity to do a little healing for some people like Mark Redmond, who has played a lot of downs, and some other players. Then they're going to try to get out there and do some recruiting during the bye week to see if they can encourage some folks to join this program, because there are some places where they could use some assistance. It seems pretty clear by the performance of the last 4 outings. And then they have Hawaii, Nevada, Utah State, Colorado State, San Jose State, Fresno State. It's the challenge at this point, I believe, for them will be winning 4 games and becoming bowl eligible.
Yeah, they'll win some games for sure, but whether the bowl eligible at this point, it's hard to tell. They definitely have some games that they could win, but again, they've got to figure out some things during this week off.
And that will wrap it up, unless there's anything else that you want to add there. We've taken this horse, and it's down on the ground, and we've been poking it at it with sticks.
Yeah, it's time to move on, Steve, and look ahead to the bye week and the next game against Hawaii.
And that'll wrap up this edition of Aztecs All In, which will remind you, we are all in on San Diego State Aztec athletics. Win or lose, we are Aztecs, including yours truly, who is an Aztec for life. Steve Perez for Louis Weiner, reminding you that you can check us out on the X at Aztecs_all_in. And you can also drop us a note at aztecsallin@gmail.com. So for Louis Weiner, this is Steve Perez saying thank you very much for checking us out.